craziest thing happened the other day. When we were in Atlanta for Workbench Con, I got a little bit restless and decided to go for a drive and check out what an Atlanta Harbor Freight looks like. And while I finished shopping at Harbor Freight, there was a pawn shop in the same strip. And because I like old cameras, I'm poking around, and I cross paths with this fella, and just super friendly, holding the door for each other. We get to chatting on the way back, and because I'm in Workbench Con networking mindset, I tell him about why I'm there, and he's from out of town, and I'm from out of town, and we exchange Instagram handles. And for those of you that may want to follow this gentleman, also, he is at Hollywood Fizz. He tells me that he is an aspiring actor and is trying to make a name for himself. And last week I saw him in a Popeyes commercial. Blew my mind. So that is the anecdote of this week.
Oh my goodness. TJ, we did go live.
Okay, geez Louise. All right.
Welcome everybody to episode 134 of Sawdust Talk. We are joined tonight by our friend Josh. We will get into all about him in a moment. We are going to take a lap through some sponsors real quick, and TJ is going to take over that.
Sure. First and foremost, we would like to talk about Surf Prep sanding systems. There are a lot of choices in this market. You might even think that the sander that you're using that doesn't say Surf Prep on it is a perfectly fine sander. And, well, maybe it is. But it's not a Surf Prep sander. And until you get your hands on one, I don't know if you're going to be able to really know the difference and what you're missing out on. There is such a thing as a good sander, and they're made by Surf Prep. The other person that we need to give a shout out to is Layla at Casey Bombshell. Thank you, Casey Bombshell. She is going to continue to harass me to get her better artwork so that we can get our merch site up, but she is going to be the official merch handler for Sawdust Talk. Going to give a shout out to Mike over at Makers for St. Jude and Woodworker versus Cancer. On the last episode with Evan, we mentioned that we have raised in 2024 over $36,000 for childhood cancer in the name of St. Jude Children's Charities. Childhood cancer sucks. St. Jude Children's Charities does research and provides lodging and housing and technology and all kinds of stuff for families that are going through one of the worst things that they possibly could. And what's great is that Mike and his charity are working with makers who make cool stuff to raise money for cool reasons. So if you reach out to Mike, we've got a fall challenge going on that I think will go through the end of October. Is that right, Jesse?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. There are so many companies participating in it, so many opportunities for you to win prizes for helping. This is great for just everybody who makes good stuff to get their stuff to do good. So let's reach out to Mike and be very proud of hitching our wagons to Maker for St. Jude. Oh, absolutely. Also, did you guys know that Sawdust Talk has a Patreon? And if you want to make sure that Jesse and I can consistently buy coffee, you can find us on our Patreon. Pretty cool stuff.
Link in the bio. Josh, welcome. Thank you so much for being on tonight. I mean, not saying bad time, still saying bad channel.
No. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We were just talking before the show about how life can get a little crazy sometimes, and we just need to adjust and adapt, and we go from there. But we appreciate you coming on. Do you want to just start out with letting people know like who you are?
Sure. Yes. So Josh Hescott, Hescott Design Company is the name of my business. I've been in business full time since 2017. Woodworker for about 28 years, but like I said, just full time the last 7-8 years right in that ballpark. Just recently opened up a brick and mortar. So I have a shop in the back and then a showroom that I've been working on for about the last year and a half. And then I did a grand opening on May 31st of this year. And so I'm just past the first quarter, I guess, of my official grand opening. And yeah, just like to work in mid-century modern, Danish modern type furniture builds. I like to do dining tables, standalone furniture. I do target a higher end client, and sometimes that can be a little bit difficult to reach. You got to kind of weasel your way into a niche, and that's what we're fighting to do every day.
So, what did you do before becoming a full-time woodworker?
I've done a lot, to be honest with you. My wife would say that I've I've worn many hats. So I've worked at retail level when I was younger for Nike. I did that for about 10 or 11 years, just as like in a managerial level at the retail stores. I used to fly around and help train and do grand openings with other stores, so train their staff. That's when my children were younger. In retail, you do tend to miss a lot of holidays, a lot of events, a lot of things of that nature. So I tried to find something a little bit more conducive to being around more for my kids. So I ended up working for Dow Chemical as a contractor. Went back to school to get some chemistry background, and I was in analytical sciences, like a lab tech. So I would work for different scientists or PhDs and carry out projects for them. So inorganic chemistry, all that type of stuff for about another 10 years. All this while woodworking and kind of learning what I like to build and the style that I like to build. Always gravitated towards clean lines. My wife's grandmother actually was a woodworker. She was one of the first ones that kind of showed me some things back in the really early 90s, 92, 93, right in that ballpark. And that kind of, stoked the fire, so to speak. The big change happened when my wife, she worked also at Dow Chemical, still does. Her job took us to Hawaii for a little while, and one of us had to stay home full time with the kids. Her ceiling at that time still a lot higher than mine, so I stayed home with the kids. And then while on island, I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to try to woodwork full time. So I contacted a local woodworker on the island of Kauai. We stayed in a little town called Kalahale, and there's a good woodworker, actually a pretty darn good woodworker. He's not an Instagram, he's an older gentleman, but his name was Frank Polano, and pretty well known for his koa like oars and beautiful furniture that he made out of the local koa wood. He was living in the same town that we moved to, so I sort of, I guess, asked him if I could apprentice a little bit, even though I had a lot of woodworking background. I never apprenticed under anybody. I'm just self-taught, and he kind of showed me the ropes a little bit, and I was able to, for the first time, jury into a few galleries while on island, and sell some work, basically to people other than family and friends. And I thought, well, heck, maybe I can do this. So when we moved back to Michigan from Hawaii, I basically went full time from there.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so that was 2012 when we moved out there, and ever since then I've kind of, like I said, I went full time as an LLC in 2017, but I built a standalone shop in my backyard, pole barn, when we moved back as we were building our house and doing different things, and then just started to really get heavy into, trying to figure out how to sell items to clients out of my pole barn or my garage shop, basically. That always starts off just like anybody else, friends, family, word of mouth, and you just kind of go from there.
So you mentioned earlier that a large portion of your body of work is tables. I think there is some really beautiful photography on your Instagram gallery of the various parts of tables. If there is one part of the table process that you enjoy the most, what would that be?
The joinery. I mean, I'm the first to say that I don't know everything there is to know about woodworking. I don't think we ever do. I would say I'm above a moderate level woodworker, so I can show a beginner woodworker some things to get them out of a pickle, because I've made so many mistakes that it's kind of nice to pass those along. That's kind of what got me into Instagram right around 2016, 2017. I noticed that was a pretty good spot to like share your mistakes and maybe help somebody out. But to joinery, I like to see the joinery, and there's nothing wrong with. I don't shame anybody for any type of joinery they do. You can pocket hole something, screw something together, whatever gets you interested in the craft. I'm all about. And it's kind of a gateway into other joinery options, right? So if you start out with a pocket hole because you see somebody do it and it's popular, maybe that stokes a fire in learning how to do spline joinery or mortise and tenon or half laps, all this type of stuff, right? So, but I personally like trying to figure out how to do the table base versus the tabletop. Tabletop's pretty, I don't want to say pretty basic, but you're just making a panel. You want that panel to be nice and true and flat and all that good stuff, but the base is kind of where it's at. So people like Chris Salamone from Four Eyes Furniture, or Sean Boyd made this. I think everybody, Keith Johnson, Nick Padula, some of these people out there that really are inspiring with how they'll do a design and make that design also functional. Because you can think of a cool design, but if you can't make it work in the joinery, it's kind of dead in the water. So I try to keep things very simple. My brain, people probably pick on me because they think I'm making fun of myself, and I do have confidence, but I keep things simple and I guess straightforward. I guess learning every single joint in the world isn't important to me, but being really, really good at like maybe 5 to 6 of them is important to me.
Well, and again, I mean, if it makes sense to you, it'll be easy for you to explain to a client when they get overwhelmed with the razzle dazzle that they'll see, right? And it could just be, tusks and tenons and stuff like that. But
yep, I like the back and forth and trying to figure out to bring their vision to life in a functional way. We got to meet in the middle a little bit on what I feel like I can do and meet their needs and their aesthetic. And I can't do, I'm not going to do anything with ball and claw feet or a Victorian style. I do kind of work in a certain style, so I'm pretty upfront about that. When I deal with clients, I think you got to be upfront with what you can do and be honest. You say, I know you're supposed to say that you can do anything, but I just don't like to lead customers astray. I think you build up a trust level if you say, hey, this is what I can do. If they ask you to do something, just say, I think that's a little bit on my range. Can we do a workaround? If they're not willing to do a workaround, I'll steer them a different direction.
They say, keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And I do that. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said from like, I wouldn't say you never master anything, but being very confident in certain joinery because I'm putting my name on it and it's going into somebody else's home. I want to know that, okay, I know that that's going to be solid. That's going to last them forever. I don't want to give somebody the first time I ever tried joint X. I'm like, yep, that's good enough to send on with you. I'm not going to do that. I'll practice if I'm going to kind of go outside of my wheelhouse. But I want to be confident in the things that I do. And I really, really like spline joinery and things of that nature because you can kind of get pretty clever with that.
I love it. There's a couple things that I do really, really want to talk to you about. One of which is social media. So you said you joined Instagram in 2017 and they've kind of sparked since then. We talked a little bit before the show about, a couple events that you've gone to, but how has the maker community kind of, worked its way into your life and become part of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, so social media, it's a big part. It's your digital business card nowadays. You have to have it. People, it's an expectation. If I'm dealing with somebody, immediately they're like, "What's your Instagram? What's your Facebook? Are you on YouTube? Do you have a website?" So I got into Instagram right around 2017, like I said, to share ideas. And it's a love-hate relationship probably with social media a little bit. I think maybe we all have that. Maybe I feel like I should be here, or I'm down here, and what's going on. But I like the community aspect. I'll probably never leave Instagram just because of the community of friends that I've built and being able to share ideas back and forth. So I haven't been to a lot of events. I just recently went to IWF, was my first ever event here this last August. And I did get a chance to meet some people that I've interacted with since 2017. Mike Coffey was there. He's a friend that we've gone back and forth since before he had his business. Keith from KJ Sawdust there. Early on, there's just people like that you talk to all the time. Since they've since blown up. I've stayed pretty much where I'm at, but I'm proud to see where they've gone, and they've still remained the same people. Not too good to still say, "Hey, Josh, how you doing?" Even though I'm not at the 400,000 mark or something like that. So that's nice. I like the community aspect of it, and to be honest, it has gotten me business. So social media gets you business. I think probably early on, if people follow along or they follow along with me over the years, they know kind of one of the first, I guess, neat things that happened to me on Instagram was I was able to strike up a friendship with Angela Kinsey from The Office, just on a chance comment that I wrote on a post that she did back in, I think that was like 2017. She had a cutting board picture that her husband Josh, who does a YouTube baking show, Baking with Josh and Ange, he made something. He had kind of put it on a kind of an old ratty bamboo cutting board, and I just put a comment on, "Hey, I know a guy that could make you a cutting board." It's like 30,000 comments, so you don't think anybody's ever gonna say anything back. 5 minutes later, I get a reply. "Would you really make me a cutting board?" And I'm like, this is probably a bot. There's no way she's replying to me. I showed my wife. I'm like, "Do you think this is really her?" And then I had a message, private message from her, and something that she started following me, and she's like, "I'd love you to make me a cutting board." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's really her." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll make you a cutting board." So we kind of struck up a little bit of a friendship, because from the cutting board, we did that together. They kind of featured me on their little YouTube show, which was very nice of them. Then she's like, "Hey, would you mind doing something for some charities that we do?" So I was able to make some boards for that. We did some for Jenna Fisher, who plays Pam on The Office. And then from there, blossomed into, could we do a dining table together? My dining table's old. I'm like, "I'd love to try." I'm in Michigan, but let's see if we can get one out to California for you. So we did that, and we flew. We got a table out there to her, and the whole family went. I had dinner at the table, the first initial dinner at the table, and cooked out, played some cornhole. Just great, down to earth folks. And since then, we've kind of been able to keep a friendship going and do some other different things. But that's where social media can really help you out. You know what I mean? And her followers aren't woodworkers necessarily. So just because she has a couple million followers doesn't mean you're automatically going to grow. But you build those, that lends you a little bit of credibility early on. I'm like, because people will be like, "Oh, he's talented enough or good enough to make a table for Angela Kinsey. He's probably okay for me to get a table made from him too, or a piece of furniture, standalone furniture." So that was a boost to, I guess, my confidence, because a lot of us can have that like imposter syndrome type feeling, especially somebody that's self-taught, never took a woodworking class or had it in high school. It's just all trial and error. So you start doing things like that, and people can tell you till you're blue in the face, especially family members and friends, "Hey, I love your stuff, this and this and that." But when it's somebody else that pays money, and they're a stranger, and they're willing to put their money where their mouth was, and tell you that your work is good, that's a different sort of they're both good feelings, but that's like more of a legitimate, like, they don't have any skin in the game to tell me I'm good. They don't necessarily care if they hurt my feelings. So that was nice. So,
That's
and
so
from there, like I said, we just kind of keep going with it, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So you experienced a wonderful stroke of luck through social media, but
Yep.
you can't guarantee a stream of clients by
Nope.
posting stuff on the internet. Do you want to share with us any of your other marketing or prospecting things that you do to keep people coming, swinging that front door of your storefront open?
So it's all word of mouth, especially when you're, I am a little bit, my market is a little bit smaller because I am targeting a mid to high level client. So you need to find that line of people. Currently, so since I just opened May 31st, just past my first quarter, the thing that I'm working on currently, I'll be transparent here, is getting eyes on the store. This is used to be a salon, and I've converted it to a showroom/shop. I had my logo on the front door. That logo doesn't mean anything to anybody. They could walk by that and say, I don't know what Hescott Design is. So that's where I need to kind of introduce myself more to the community, get a little bit more signage on my windows. So we just recently did that, furniture showroom and home decor type situation. I just had my first class because I'm trying to do monthly classes, kind of a twofold deal, get people into the shop, get their eye, let them have a good time. We just did a cutting board class this past Thursday, actually. And we had 12, I can do class size about 12 to 15. We did 12 for the first one. So my thought process is get people from the community into the store, have a good time, maybe look around while they're having that good time. Like, oh, he does dining tables, he does standalone furniture. Then they talk. People have a good experience. They go home and they're like, hey, I just went to this awesome new place. You wouldn't believe the types of things that XYZ that he can do. So that's really what you're trying to do. Also reaching out to all the with about a 2-hour radius to the designers in the area. So home builders, all the interior designers, you're kind of constantly emailing, hey, I've got a storefront. Here's some of the work that I do. You're kind of reaching out because the thought process, if I can get 3 out of the 30 interior designers to call me back and to look at my work, maybe they'll have a job. This is the whole thing. You get one job, you deliver on time, the client's happy, you're in the Rolodex. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I got a guy that I can rely on. And that's kind of what you're trying to get to. You got to join your local chamber of commerce. You got to join different small business programs that a lot of small cities like mine has a small business program that's free for people like me for advice, marketing advice, website advice, financial advice. Mine's called the SBDC. And many small towns and small cities have these types of free, consultants that can be assigned to you as a business, as a small business. And you got to take advantage of that and let them help get your name out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for mentioning chambers of commerce also.
Yeah.
If you've got a door that swings and a city hall in that city, mm-hmm. you need to be involved with the Chamber of Commerce.
For sure.
At least in St. Louis, ours are all extremely active.
Yeah, they're very good, and shame on me for not taking advantage of it enough. Probably a lot of times their meetings are when I'm open and I'm a one-man show, so it's just me. I run the front of house and I run the back of house. So sometimes I'm covered in sawdust and I can't quite get to the different meet and greets. But if you can, those are good things to go to. I just actually won an award, even though haven't been able to go. The work that I put into this new building that I didn't buy, I'm just leasing this building. But I did quite a bit of work myself, all of it myself, except for some painting with my wife and my kids. But I won a Red Brick Award, which means you have invested into the community and turned an older it was the building wasn't in a good state when I got it, and we brought it kind of back to life. So that's an attraction that a lot of Chamber of Commerces are looking for, because that's bringing eyes to the downtown area, at least to my downtown area. So you'll get a little award that you can hang up, and then it also goes in their an award like that will go in their flyer, and it'll say who won these awards, and these are kind of spots to check out. So it's good advertising as well. So yeah, definitely take advantage of your Chamber of Commerce if you can.
Josh, I love what you're doing. I just like watching from the outside and being like, here's the brick and mortar. And now not only are you, chasing your dream and doing the big things, the teaching aspect, I just adore, because
That's kind of you to say. I appreciate that.
Really, part of, Maker's Ultimate Challenge and Muck that we went to in Maryland was, teaching the next generation, is getting people enthused, getting people excited about learning. Yeah. And skilled trades are so important. So, your cutting board class, which you're like, oh, it's only 12 people, that could spark somebody to be like, hey, this is something that's really cool, and I want to really pursue this in my life. So just like you got into it, you might spark an interest for somebody else to get into it too. So I love the teaching side of things.
Yeah, well, that's kind of to say, and I like it too. Like I said, I'm self-taught. I'm not a teacher, but I know sometimes just through experience where some of these little like log jams can be when you're trying to put something together or a hurdle and try to explain things because not everybody learns the same. So sometimes you'll have to show things a few different ways. Some people are tactile, some people are visual. So you just try to present things in a way that they can understand. I always figure the onus is on me to if somebody's not getting it, then I need to approach it a different way. So that's kind of, yeah, I like it a lot. There's actually my neighbor in my business next door to me just is it has a huge building. I think it's like 60,000 square feet, an old building from the early 1900s. He's trying to turn into a makerspace, and he's kind of been since I moved in, kind of picking my brain on they want to do partner with some local colleges, which there is some buy-in, and also from our governor and lieutenant governor of Michigan on trying to maybe help fund this space because he'd like to get the trade, like the trade aspect of some of these programs in there. He would love to have a woodworking studio. He'd love to have metalworking, CNC, all these types of things. So not that I'm not as tied in as some of these really big accounts. That's where I made it a point to go to IWF this year. And I'm going to Texas Woodworking Festival in November because I want to start meeting some folks in person. Some of the people that help sponsor me currently, I've never met a lot of these people face to face. And I want to build those relationships in a face to face way, give somebody a handshake, say hi, this is who I am. We've talked on the phone and we've done different things, but it's invaluable because if I can maybe get some of those guys on board for when this other big makerspace comes, gets up and going, I'd like to try to like get them over there to help out my neighbor because I wouldn't mind being a part of that big makerspace too, because that's going to specifically target younger folks and people that want to get in the trades. I'd love to try to get a maker meetup at this spot sometime. It's going to be a beautiful spot.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a point a few minutes ago that I latched onto was about cutting board classes, right? Yeah. And I think because the three of us and a majority of the people that we interact with on a daily basis are all quite adept at gluing and cutting wood, right? We have a tendency to sort of forget how cherished the things that we make and present to other people are. And you working in a retail capacity and having a storefront, I think that you get to have like a really semi-frequent dose of that like magic that people get when they pick up your work, or it's going to be a gift for somebody, or that somebody not only values what you're making, but they like it enough to present it to somebody else as an item, like a gift, right?
It's refreshing to see it. I mean, it was a whole group of ladies for this first class. And like you said, we can kind of take this stuff for granted, something as simple as a cutting board type of thing. And I think sometimes cutting boards get a little bit of shame, like like it's just for beginners, but there's a lot of you could get pretty creative with a cutting board and make some really beautiful pieces as far as like aesthetically pleasing. And you do learn, you have to, learn a few different tools and know how to cut things straight and glue things properly. And you're making a mini panel. So that aspect, the amount of questions that I had from this group that I forgot, as far as like maybe I just assume they wouldn't want to stuff that we see all the time, then take for granted. They're like, oh, I want to see how you do that. Like, well, how do you do this? Like, how do you know what woods go together? How do you know what is face grain and edge grain, and why does it matter? And what type of glue are we using? And the class is only 2 hours, so each group of 6 got an hour. That's not enough time to do the whole entire cutting board. So they were like super intrigued because it looks kind of ugly at first, right? In glue up, it's all different widths and different things. They're like, how does it? And I had some examples of what I had made, and they could see it in the showroom. They're like, how does my piece get from this to that? And I'm like, oh, I'll run it through the planer. We're going to sand it. I'm going to put an edge on it. So I did. I took them through. Nobody ran any machinery because that's, there's issues there with liabilities. But I explained to them what each machine would do. and how it would get from A to B and C into a finished product. And then in turn, they helped me learn a lot for my next cutting board class. I'm like, oh, I think I'll have things at different stages of finish so that people can see like, this is what it looks like, and this is what it's going to look like in the next step after planing, after sanding, what type of bit we're going to use to put the round over on, or a chamfer, all that type of thing. I was really surprised by how much they cared. I thought maybe they'd just be like, yep, I glued it together. Now I'm going to go have some wine and some cheese and hang out. They're really interested in the whole process. That was neat. I really enjoyed that.
These women are like, let's get to the charcut.
Yeah. Well, they did have fun with with that part of it too, but boy, they weren't afraid to get their hands messy at all, which was pretty nice.
That's so cool.
Yeah. That's really, really cool.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things that I like about teaching, and granted that the type of woodworking I do is a little more funky than what most people think of, is you can see moments in your pupils where things start to click.
Yeah.
Right? Where things start to make sense. And you get to have like this tiny internal high five that like you took whatever the spaghetti that you use to organize how you go about doing it, and you were able to present it to somebody else in a way that they then got it and made it work. And that always makes me feel really good too
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that little moment when things click, for sure. Heck, I like it when things click in my own brain. I think yeah, it's a good feeling, right?
Oh yeah. Well, like the epiphanies, right?
Yeah.
Or like when you truly solve a problem. Sure. Oh man.
Yep.
That's juicy.
Yeah, and that ties back a little bit to when you asked about social media. I mean, I did get pretty involved in the DIY world for quite some time, and that's filled with if you look at analytics, I guess I think like 70-something% of my followers currently are probably women, because I took a leap about 4 years ago. There was a lot of shaming going on in the community, not the woodworking necessarily, but you'd see people like Sarah Listy and different people like that say, hey, I went to Home Depot and somebody made a comment about, maybe your husband should be doing that type of stuff. I would see that stuff come up. I'm friends with some of these folks, and I would talk and say different things, and reach out and say, hey, if you need a hand or ever want to pick my brain, I don't know it all, but I know a little bit that might be able to give you a hand. Like, let's be a partner to somebody versus trying to put somebody down that doesn't do anything for anybody. So I made a conscious effort to reach out to a lot of people that were on that side of things. I get, they want to learn something. If it's if it's a pocket hole, who cares? Like, what does it matter if they're using a Ryobi tool versus a Festool tool? Like, do we have to shame everybody? So being a partner to like that side of things opened up quite a bit of friendships, in that side of I kind of almost, and I'm not trying to sound like a whatever, but I almost became like a little bit of a safe space, I guess, for them to DM and Marco Polo and ask different questions, like, and not feel bad about it. And I'm like, hey, we all started the same way. I didn't just automatically know how to do a certain joint. I failed more times than I found victory. So like, passing that on to other people that are just getting started I think it's important. So, and I have, like I said, a daughter, and I have a son, but showing him like, and a wife that's a kind of a boss lady, right? So we're trying to, there's nothing wrong with having there's nothing to be ashamed of to have a woman in a position of power and helping her out. So we all need to lift each other up a little bit, and I'm a really big believer in that. So.
Absolutely. I think, we kind of touched on this with Evan I guess it wasn't even a week ago. It was Saturday. But we were talking to Evan about, he's like, I don't even own a table saw. And it's, he was inspired by people on social media and YouTube that woodworking was something cool he wanted to chase after. But you go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, and you see people with all these really, really fancy tools. And so I think giving people a space to learn a craft without having everything is really important.
Sure.
Like, you do not need to have the fanciest of fanciest tools. you can start with whatever you have. And I
Yes.
guarantee there's somebody in this community that's going to be just like you, Josh, who is like, yeah, let's, I'll help you. What questions do you have?
Yeah,
So,
I do think the community as a whole is they're pretty open. There's not like a lot of you hate to see people gatekeep. I mean, nothing that we're doing is rocket science, or most of it's been done before. All of it's been done before. You try to put your own spin on it, but somebody that says I own this joint, I mean, give me a break, right? I mean, we're just here to pass the knowledge on to other people and use it to the best of our ability while we're here, for sure.
okay, one more thing before we have to start wrapping up. YouTube.
Yeah,
You decided I'm going to hop on YouTube, and
yeah.
you have how many videos?
I mean, I think I've only done maybe 4 or 5 videos. It's a space that I'm just getting into. So
And you have, I'm gonna brag for you for a second because you have over 1,000 subscribers
I
already.
I did reach the 1,000 sub mark, which was nice. Now I got to get that, I got to get those watch hours. That's
Yeah, you do.
Yep, yep. But you can monetize, that's the one thing with Instagram. I can get kind of down on myself. I think a lot of, you kind of go through those up and downs, like, why aren't I here? Why aren't I there? And I feel like I'm doing consistent content and you want to beat yourself up a little bit. And I think social media is very easily can be mentally draining, right? It can put you in a maybe a bad way. That whole, like, you don't want to be a compare and despair person, but we're human, right? So you see somebody and you're like, my work feels like it's pretty comparable to that. I feel like I'm doing content comparable. Why do they have 1 million subscribers and I have or followers and I have 5,000? But you can't control it. You can just do the best you can. But YouTube, I was like, okay, I'm a little long-winded, so maybe YouTube is a good format for me to like get a little bit more in depth with builds or have a little bit of fun. So, and I can I want to have fun. It's not fun to like. I'm not a trendy person. I'm not good with the dances or the jokes or different things like that. YouTube, I feel like that's an ocean, right? So Instagram is a stream or a river, and everything you put out there is gone. It's not searchable. And a lot of the things that I'm doing, I feel like I want it to be searchable. So you think of YouTube as more of an ocean of knowledge. You do something, they can type it in, they can search it and pull it back up. So the videos that you're doing are gonna kind of live in perpetuity as long as we're all around. And Instagram is not that. And then also, if you kind of want to, I've learned, I'm not an expert at this, but if you're partnering up with any businesses, they've kind of expressed, some that I've dealt with have expressed that same sentiment. Like, Instagram is great for community and doing different things. We'd love to see a post, but gosh, if you could include our name and show our product in a YouTube video, that lives forever. And it's searchable. So that would be my advice for anybody that's like wanting to, how do I partner up with company XYZ? You can establish a YouTube channel that has a good following. That's pulls some weight for conversations with folks. We just talked about monetization. I would love to reach that 4,000 watch hour mark, but you don't have to be monetized through the AdSense to make money on YouTube, right? So you can still, link things in your description through Amazon affiliates. And if you happen to be an affiliate with, I'll just throw out names of like, whoever, Total Boat or yeah, Surf Prep. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely a company that I'm grateful to work with. So yeah, you can still start monetizing and trying to earn some residual income to keep the lights on at the shop, right? So and it's fun.
So do you know Jason Bent?
Yeah, oh yeah, yep. He's a good friend.
He's such a good guy.
Yes.
He gave me the best advice, and he was like, talking about YouTube, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously Mr. Benz has a very, very nice following over there
Mm-hmm.
on that platform. But he goes, I want you to scroll back and look at some of my first videos.
Sure.
He goes, you think I know what I'm doing? Go back and watch where I started.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I mean, everyone's so scared to put themselves out there and make those leaps and those jumps. And YouTube feels like a big jump for a lot of people. But
You just got to do it. I literally was just talking to another mutual friend. I'm not going to name it, I guess, a bunch of names or whatever, but like, yeah, you just have to go out and do it. You know what I mean? You can talk about it all you want. You just got to make a video, and you got to get the ball rolling just a little bit and try. And they all, no matter who, I can't speak for everybody, but it seems like any of these little events, I got lucky enough to go to that festival build off where there's a couple big accounts there, and I'm kind of talking to them. We're all insecure. They could have 200,000 followers and 100,000 subs, and they're still like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know if, I'm listening to these conversations and they're having them in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, they're just as nervous as I am about posting a YouTube video. They don't have it figured out. Like, there's no magic elixir that they drink and just, get 100,000 views. They question everything the same as I do with my, at the time, 400 subs. So there's a little bit of that in all of us, right? So you just got to do it. None of us have it figured out.
Okay, I've got one more question, and then we should probably take a lap through our sponsors one more time and do our wrap up. But just because maybe you'll share this with the universe at large as well, if there was a project that you really want somebody to reach out to you to work on that maybe isn't something that's going to be in your store window, or something that might be within your wheelhouse, but you never really got a chance to do it, what would you like to ask the world to ask you to make?
The world to ask me to make, boy. I wouldn't mind learning how to do some metal work. That's something I currently sub out, to be honest with you, because it's not my expertise. But I would love to learn how to work with metal. Every time I know we all call ourselves makers. I don't really honestly consider myself a maker because I only know how to woodwork. But I watch somebody like Jimmy DeResta, right? Izzy Swan, but Jimmy, for sure. I've been watching him since, the mid 90s on the Hammered with his brother. And he's making everything. He's leather work. He can do metal. But currently watching him weld and do different things, I would love to have that ability to just troubleshoot and build items like he does. So like a metal sculpture, though, I don't mean like a table base. I would like to, like metal art would be awesome if I could learn how to do that. I know there's people out there that do it. You guys are going to Maker Camp. I think, don't you guys do some metal?
Camp.
Yeah.
Do you follow, sorry, really quick. Do you follow Luke and Priscilla?
I don't know if I do.
Oh my goodness. Okay. P.L. Smith.
Okay.
And he actually did like a sculpture of his wife's pregnant body.
Oh,
and
really?
It was stacked layered metal, and it was her pregnant belly, or her pregnant torso, I should say.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah.
Beautiful. But he does amazing stuff, and they do that stuff at Maker Camp, and it's so fun. You should come.
And hopefully I can go and I'll target it for next year.
Yeah, you should.
Yep.
I don't know. Ask me real nicely. I'll drag a welder up there, and we'll burn some gas and fuse some metal.
You're not that far away from me. Have you guys gone every year?
This will be my first year.
Okay.
And my second.
This is the fifth or sixth year for this, right?
I don't know the answer to that question, but
this will be my ballpark. Nice. Yeah. I'm jealous. Like I said, I'm going to the Texas Woodworking Festival, and I've heard that's a good one, so I'm excited about that. I'll be staring. Do you guys follow Clara's wood shop at all? Clara Kim. So I'll be going out there, staying with her, and then we're gonna do a little bit of I'll stay a little bit longer, and I think we might do little something for YouTube while we're out there, which will be awesome. But I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
That's super cool. Okay. We are. God, we're talking about so much stuff. I wish we didn't sort of have to bottle things up the way that we do. It's such a good episode. So we need to take one more lap through our sponsor. That's Hannah over there at Surf Prep Sanding and Abrasives.
She's awesome.
She is a wonderful human being.
Yes.
So great to be around. And then also her team and her family and the people behind Surf Prep are. It's a great company, but we're also going to brag a little bit about their foam backed abrasives, most specifically the drywall sanding rings. They're brand new. They have a hole in the middle of them, so they're more of a donut. And I don't know if you guys do any drywall sanding or have ever operated a drywall sander, but It's surprisingly well thought out. Festool isn't even thinking it through that well with their drywall sander abrasives. They're still trying to get you to match up to holes, and Surf Preps is universal and gives so much better suction. It's just awesome. So yeah, Surf Prep, thank you for your support. Thank you for making kick-ass drywall abrasives. And yeah, we also need to remind everybody to reach out to Mike over at Woodworker versus Cancer and Makers for St. Jude. The challenge that wraps up at the end of October is awesome. We are going to end up blowing our 2024 goals out of the water with your participation. It's just really, really great stuff. And Patreon, link in the bio. See, look how good I am at this.
Good job, TJ.
Excellent.
Yeah. Josh, at the end of every episode, I like to reach out to our guests to come up with a motivational thought or a quote, or just give our listeners a reason to kick open the door to their shop, maybe pick up a tool, maybe make a mess, maybe clean up a mess that's been there for too long, or to just get awesome. What would you like to share with the folks that are listening or watching?
Well, I mean, a quote that I kind of keep in my head when I'm working in my shop is by Da Vinci, and it's actually on my business cards too, but it's like, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So when I'm in the shop making something, something can look simple, but it takes a lot of time it takes a lot of work to make something look simple. You know what I mean? And clean. So I'm always, that's kind of something that I always think of that he's quoted as saying is, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And so when I'm in the shop, I'm striving for that simplicity, but I want it to have a certain look. So all my work is geared with that in mind. Your name is on it. Make sure that it's going out the best that you can do. Don't send something out with your name on it that's not a representation of a good representation of who you are as a maker, and as a person.
Those are both awesome.
I feel like we could sit and talk with you all night. You said you're long-winded, and I'm like, no, but I want you to keep talking because.
Well, it's kind of you guys to let me pop on.
Yes, I can't. I'm disappointed. We're gonna have to get you on for a victory lap after the end of next quarter. We can talk about where your business has gone, and we'll do a maker check-in with you. That's even cooler.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Super kind of you guys. And yeah, I'm doing the best, like one foot in front of the other every day. I hope I have good news to report in the next quarter.
I feel like, I mean, you're at over 1,000 subs now. I don't care what your Instagram count is. But you are just a great part of this community. I appreciate that you are so kind and helpful, and you're just a light.
Oh, well, that makes me feel great. I'm smiling on the inside for sure.
You're smiling on the outside too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, Josh, we appreciate you. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Episode 134 of Sawdust Talk. And TJ, take us out.
Yeah, well, you know what? The way things have been going, we'll see you when we see you.